Any questions about the facility? The budget book is going to be ready. But I took you last time to get what I needed to get done. Okay? Okay. Please make sure. And then email me so I won't forget. I'm going to try to write them down, but I want to know.
Yes, oh, hey! Yes, and I see your face and I'm thinking, oh, yeah. I didn't come last time. But we watched it. We watched it on the network. I expected more. Yeah. Well, I actually don't know.
Testing, mic check.
It's now 6:02, and we will go ahead and start the February 18th public hearing for the selection of the superintendent, as well as typically we don't add additional agenda items to our work sessions. Was there anything else that we needed to make sure that we discussed tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
By Ms. Lane. Second? By Ms. King. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Agenda is approved. Tonight we had this called meeting specifically for the purpose of entertaining public comment regarding qualifications for the selection of Southampton County's next superintendent. We've gathered information through a survey that was released to the community through multiple channels, and tonight we will hear public comment. Did we have any? We didn't have a list of anybody that signed up. Is there anybody that would like to speak tonight?
I'm sorry, I didn't sign up sheet for public hearing.
You can come right on up to the stand, and we'll just ask that you introduce yourself and let us know where you're from.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. I appreciate your grace.
Yes.
So for superintendent, we need a superintendent who can come in with a fresh perspective and no bias. Knowledge of our area would be very, very helpful, but not necessary. And in order to be fully vested in a job, my opinion is that the superintendent should be required to live in Southampton County within 6 months of employment. I would like to see a superintendent that can fine-tune our curriculum and encourage and support robust participation in all the associated activities, the clubs, the competitions, all the things that take our children out into the community to do hands-on learning. There's so many opportunities out there with our community partners that we're not taking advantage of. Everything from internships to sponsorships for field trips and competitions and things like that. So I'd like to see a superintendent who's capable of doing those things. I'd like to give our students more opportunities to be creative, as I mentioned, to compete, and also someone who is going to enhance the process for obtaining CTE credentials. Past few years, it's been too difficult. I don't know if there's not enough support, there's not enough resources, there's not enough ways to inform our students how to get their CTE credentials and things like that. For example, with our drone program, we need to make sure that all the 16-year-olds are definitely aware of how to get their license, and those are really great benefits that are very easily obtained if we just had the right person. I also think we need a superintendent who can, again, enhance our CTE curriculum and connect with the community on that. We live in Southampton County. We have one of the strongest agricultural backgrounds and economy in the state. So we really aren't taking advantage of it. Again, is it the resources, the support, whatever we need to bring that forward, we need to find that person. I'd like to read to you a little bit something that I found on the Virginia Department of Agriculture. It's an example of how we can link our history and our school and our economy together. So it's Black History Month. Did you know a black farmer in Virginia revolutionized the peanut industry? In the late 1890s, a Southampton County man named Benjamin Hicks invented and patented a gas-powered machine to stem and clean peanuts, significantly speeding up the harvest. Despite a daunting lawsuit from a major equipment company, Hicks won in 1901, and his invention helped make Virginia a national leader in peanut production. So, it's very easy to make these connections. We need somebody that can make these types of connections in our community. A determined partner in the community is also someone who knows how to elicit support and identify opportunities for the community to interact with the school system. And we also need someone who is willing to confront the difficult dynamics in our classrooms. We need someone who can help our staff address discipline problems head on and not shy away from them. And we need someone who can make constructive changes in the dynamics of our classrooms. We need someone who is present, who is a leader that walks beside their staff, provides opportunities for growth, and enhances everyone's opportunity to succeed. That's all I have. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you much. Was there anybody else that would have liked to speak?
My name is George Collins Jr. I reside at 28745 North Main Street in Houston, Virginia. I'm not as well prepared as Ms. Hall is, obviously, but I do want to emphasize some of the things that she said. As a local business owner, there is one thing that is very much needed in our community, and those are young people that are prepared to go to work. CTE training. One thing that is needed is electricians and plumbers and carpenters and welders and machinists and every other kind of person you can think of that works with their hands. That's what's needed right now. That's where the demand is. Technology is very quickly taking away people's jobs, but people that work with their hands will have a job. And this school used to have one of the finest CTE departments in the state. Back when Mr. Paul ran it right over there, I was a product of it. I graduated here in '98. I was a vocational completer and an honor graduate, and it was one of the best programs in the state. And what we have now, unfortunately, is a shell of that. And we need to build that back up. Whatever it takes, this applies to the budget, to the superintendent, applies to all of them. But that is really where we need to focus hard, because that is where the demand is for jobs. Thank you.
Ms. Collins. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak tonight?
Are you asking for a public hearing on budget too?
No, public hearing on budget is actually scheduled for later in the budget cycle. We'll get our first presentation from the superintendent tonight.
Okay.
All right. Hearing no other comments or seeing nobody else that's asking to speak, we will close our public hearing now on the superintendent's qualifications. So thank you very much for everybody that spoke this evening. Board members, we have in our packets, and you have a blue binder in front of you that contains the survey results from all of the information that was collected. I know we received this information late today. It was around noon, I think, when it came out from the VSBA. A little bit after that, Ms. Artis was able to compile the information for us in a book. Were there any thoughts? Have you been able to look at anything, see anything that stood out to you that you wanted to walk through tonight? We'll of course meet again next Wednesday the 25th to actually have the final say on what's going to go in the posting for the superintendent and all those things based on an ability to actually digest the information we have in front of us a little bit deeper. But any conversation that you all would like to have regarding the preliminary review of data.
If I might, and it does kind of speak to one of the things that Ms. Hall shared as well when we were talking about residency. And I think that there's some difference in opinion, obviously, and that's fine. I would worry if we're requiring residency within the county, that we're limiting maybe some people that might live relatively close and don't want to relocate. I think the more important thing to be looking at is the engagement. We want somebody who knows our community, is going to get to know our community, is going to be here. And I don't know that necessarily has to mean living here. Like, I've worked for superintendents before that you would never know they didn't live in the county that they work in. So, yeah. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Dr. Tyndall, and that was some of what we also heard from VSBA was it used to be almost a one-to-one correspondence that a superintendent lived in the county in which they worked, and I think now the stats are somewhere around 50-50, maybe 60-40, but that'll be something that we'll have to for sure wrestle with over the next little bit, and we'll be able to dissect some of the information that we collected in the surveys. Other board members, any other thoughts on what you've been able to glean thus far? I took some time, I looked at most of the graph, the data points itself, but I took a little bit of time to try to read through some of the commentary at the end, as well, like individual comments that folks made in the open text box. And I tried to just surmise what are some of the key words that I thought stood out or were consistent. I definitely saw information regarding communication, being a strong communicator at really all levels. It seemed important at the staff level, the student level, the community level, that stood out to me. I saw accountability as a key word that was there. Relationship building, and fairness, which I think a lot of those words are not surprises to us because that's what we would be looking for in a leader, no matter what. That's generally who you're looking for to try to lead, and especially in a public-facing position such as the superintendent's role. And I think we'd be including those no matter what. But those were the words that stood out quite a bit to me as I read through some of that. There seemed to be also a strong bias for folks that had some experience, at least in upper administrative positions in the county, or not in the county, but in central office or other administrative positions within a school district. And experience leading in a school system seemed to be also one of the things that was favored quite a bit by the results. So We've got a lot of stuff to read through over the next week and analyze. You'll recall that we've got from the VSBA, basically a sample posting that laid out the different bullets of what would be the superintendent's qualifications. When we meet again on the 25th, we'll take a look at our current job description, our current contract, as well as this data results and the things that we know are going to be important for our next leader. And we'll kind of finalize that posting so that it accurately reflects who we're seeking so that we get the most qualified applicants to come in and serve our district. Before we move on, any other closing thoughts before we would move on and start to look at some budget information? All right. Well then, Dr. Harris Muhammad, we are going to turn the floor over to you to get a first peek at what we have cooking for the budget. I know that Dr. Tyndall and Ms. Lane have been working alongside you, and we're excited to see what you have in store for us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to everyone. Everyone hear me okay? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to present a proposed budget for the FY26 school year. I first want to give public thanks and kudos to the budget committee. Mr. Smith served on that budget committee. A lot of feedback that he shared during our first meeting is incorporated into what I'm going to present this evening. In addition, we're better together, so we're proving this right now.
Which one?
Thank you so much. We just proved that we are better together. I want to thank Dr. Tyndall and Ms. Lane also during our second budget work committee session. I believe it was robust. I believe it also was just like the first one, worthwhile. And the feedback that I have received from them is also incorporated, as well as some of you board members reached out asking for certain things to be presented. And so hopefully I will be able to accomplish all of that. If not, at the end of this presentation, if you have questions, feedback, constructive criticism, we are here to receive that, and we will work on that for round 2 of the discussion. I would also like to take this opportunity to share that the budget workbook that many of you requested that we work on will go to print sometime on Friday. So you'll have the information and additional information in a budget book as well. It is my honor and privilege to recognize the leadership team who we worked several weeks on putting the proposed acting superintendent budget together. This is not something that I did alone. This is something that many of the people that are sitting to my right worked with me diligently and faithfully on. So this is not, I may be presenting it, I may be sharing the ideas, I may be sharing the needs, but the staff to my right, the faithful ones that are working in our division, also worked with me. It is my honor to present to you all this evening the FY26-27 General Fund Operating and Capital Improvement Budget, inclusive of our facilities and our most infrastructure needs. As this is my first budget as acting superintendent, I approach this work with intentionality and care, grounded in the belief that a balanced budget presented to you, centered on students and their outcomes, mental health supports for students and staff, certified staff, classified staff and families, creates meaningful opportunities for growth and alignment. This proposal supports improved curriculum and instruction, addresses critical staffing needs within our special education department, responds to immediate infrastructure concerns, and advances our teacher and staff salary schedules. I am guided by a deep conviction that student outcomes are my why. And accordingly, I remember that the entire preparation for this budget, because we are better together. And sometimes going back to the basics and making sure that we build strong foundations for every student is important when we're talking about budgets. While the governance team will discuss a strategic plan in the future with your new superintendent, it is still my responsibility to provide to you and openly and transparently as possible share the needs of our school division that we care about. I am truly grateful for your support and guidance that you have extended to me as your acting superintendent, and I do firmly believe that we are better together. And so this evening, we're going to be talking about the needs of our Department of Curriculum and Instruction. We must continue to meet the requirements of the Virginia Literacy Act, and also ensuring that we have ongoing professional development with our new curriculum, the Hampton City curriculum. Our special education needs, addressing the needs of equity in our special education classrooms across the district. So we want to be balanced with personnel. Human resources, ensuring that improving and leveling school accountability, making sure that we have personnel where personnel is needed. School improvement, providing targeted personnel to support schools identified as off track. The goal is to not have any school level down, but level up. Federal programs, continue to partner with our federal programs to lead adequately and secure talented personnel and efficient programming to increase student outcomes. Professional development is also important for our staff. I believe in growing your own. I believe in not just leveling up with our schools, but also leveling up with our staff. Those individuals who have aspirations to grow should have space to grow and also support financially to do that. In central office, just ensuring that we are realigning and strengthening, more so strengthening our central office staffing. Right now, we have our central office individuals, they are reporting to schools, providing that instructional support, providing lesson plan support, so we can ensure that we are not just doing the day-to-day instructionally, but also providing that mentor support. Attendance, discipline, as well as culture and climate are the three goals that were adopted through the Virginia Tiered Systems of Support, as I shared before. With that, looking at those goals, to make sure that we have alignment, I've shared this sometime early on, that we have personnel needs that we are diligently working on together with human resources. Our human resource coordinator is working very hard every day, ensuring that we are filling the needs, not just in our special education department, but also instructionally on our middle school level. We will be talking very soon, governance team, about what will summer school look like? What will remediation look like? Our high school had a discussion today about preparing for that next week for students who, since the first semester has ended, which students need the immediate recovery for attendance as well as credit recovery as well. In this proposed budget, it includes a 5% salary increase for full-time staff and the 2% bonus for other eligible employees for the current year, which is consistent with the previous governor's budget that was introduced. Now, I'm gonna stop there a little bit. We have a new governor, and of course, whenever you have a new governor, they look at what the budget from the previous governor is and what tweaks they would like to make based on the General Assembly. They're in crossover right now, and so she's collecting that feedback. One of the things that I will be talking about in the immediate future is her Executive 4, which impacts our accountability and what that will look like in the future. The vision and the mission for our school division is the same. And I'm sure when you go through the process of developing a strategic plan, you're gonna look at, do you need to refine your current vision? Do you need to refine your current mission? And those are things that you, as a governance team, will be able to address through the development of a new strategic plan. The school board goals are consistent because a new strategic plan has not been implemented. You haven't gone through that process. So expanding learning opportunities and increase student achievement, that's a part of this proposed budget. Expand professional training and improve employee retention, that's a part of this proposed budget. Expand community and parental partnerships. We are focused on that through BTSS. That's a part of this proposed budget. Expand our capital improvement efforts and acquire more fiscal resources. That is definitely a part of this proposed budget. Expanding opportunities to make sure more equity advancement is for all students. That is also outlined in this budget. The budget priorities were created from and surrounded around teachers' staff salaries, expanding learning opportunities, student achievement, and facilities. Very similar to what your goals are. The how. There are some specific steps that as a school division we will take together. I've already talked about one of those, BTSS. Another is I implement tiered literacy support that we must continue to implement and strengthen and refine through our K through 8. On our K through 8 level, we have a phenomenal curriculum and instruction team that is focused on that work every day because there is a direct correlation. When students can read efficiently, when they can read well, they can do a lot of other things well also. Broaden our CTE pathways and our Jobs for Virginia opportunities. That's expanding. That's what I heard earlier. Expanding the opportunities in our career technical education program and also recognizing, realizing, and also creating a pathway how those students will become credentialed. Do they understand the process? Does our community understand the process? Enhance our digital equity. Professional learning communities. We must continue to provide open spaces for professional development for our staff. Expanding our dual enrollment opportunities. So when we're asking for things to happen, we also have to have a metrics in which we will be governed by and also held accountable by. So what would be the evidence? So accountability redesign, our literacy, our Virginia Literacy Act, our graduation rate, our college career readiness, and our chronic absenteeism. These are metrics that our Virginia Department of Education departments like the Department of Accountability, the Office of Student Assessment, as well as our Special Education Office at the Virginia Department of Education. These are metrics that they talk to. These are metrics that they work out of, and these are metrics in which they hold school divisions accountable. We want to be able to not only maintain two distinguished schools, but level up our other schools as well. Support our staff to transition from balanced literacy to structured literacy, which is going to take personnel, training, and communication. Maintain or increase the on-time graduation rate. We want to continue moving towards 100%, okay? And also reduce the number of students missing 10% or more of school days by 5%, and that is a BTSS goal. Goal 2, expand our safe and healthy school culture and climate. Under that, our Virginia School Security Equipment Grant, the numbers are there. We have a required local match. And I also want to stop here to say, Joy Carr is here with us this evening. If we have any questions that I may not be able to answer, she can come to the podium and answer them for us. And so currently at the following schools that you see, Meharry, Capron, Riverdale, Nottoway, and the middle school, we have school bus safety equipment, interior security cameras. We want an enhancement on that. Also our surveillance cameras. Our security lighting system also at our central office. Because of course we know in the winter, fall season, it gets dark sooner. So our lighting, many of us work past 6 at central office. And so when we are leaving, it is really dark in the parking lot, which can cause a safety issue. But a lot of times we're leaving together or closely in range, if not all at the same time. At the high school, it's all of the above as well. Permanent school perimeter security fencing that has already started. Also, speaking of grants, our Virginia Department of Criminal Justice grant continue to be a saving grace for us. We have a school security officer or SRO at one of our schools. He travels. Then we have one at the middle school. We have one here at the high school, and then also, the local funded, which we are supporting 6 school security officers, 3 school resource officers contracted positions with the county sheriff's office. That's a partnership that we continue to have. And they also work very well with our safety and security specialist, Mr. Charity, and trainings throughout the year. Mr. Charity also has a goal of, under this go-to, is bringing a lot of our training in-house. And so when you do that, you send someone to be trained and certified. We want the trainer to come back and train the others so they can be certified as well. Goal 3, expanding professional training. I also heard this earlier, which is also in my brain. I have a passion for that through PD, through professional learning, through constant growing up. Our school division will be better for it. And so under Title II, which is the quality of instruction, focuses on one instructional coach, which we are in the process of interviewing for at the middle school. That particularly was written in a grant for the coach to be at the middle school. Funding for classes, tuition reimbursements comes out of this for classes to become professionally licensed and certified. There's reimbursements that come out of Title II when we have teachers taking their praxis, but they have to pass the praxis to receive the reimbursement. And also instructional supplies are given to our new teachers to the division during in-service week. We have a mentorship program that's in the division during our pre-service week as well. Our new teachers receive their mentors for the year. One of our, she says retiree, but she's not quite retired, Ms. Hicks, who is our person that supervises that mentorship program with our teachers, work very closely with our new teachers and human resources to ensure they are receiving the support that they need. So those are type of funds that are coming out of our Title II. Good use of those funds as well. I'm just going to take 30 seconds to get some food. Goal 4, expanding community and parental partnerships. This is another goal that is now all the goals are close to my heart, but this is really close to my heart because I believe when community partnerships are strong, they are viable, communication is streaming well between the school division and your community partners, students are positively impacted. So some of the things that we currently have going on, as you can see here, and I'm sure we probably missed 2 or 3, but so much greatness is going on in our school division with our partnerships. It is amazing how it impacts our students and our staff. One in particular that I will point out, the ODU Mobile Health Clinic. So many of our students were able to receive their physicals through the ODU Mobile Health Clinic. So many of our families, their mothers and their grandmothers and their aunties and their sisters were able to receive breast examinations through the mobile health clinic because they visit our schools. They are stationary right now with the middle school and high school, but it's a great thing. We're not the only school division that they partner with, but it's very exciting when they can come up, when families can come up and be serviced and students do not have to miss school. The milestone moments and local pediatricians. That is a huge impact for our students who are getting ready to start pre-K and beyond, because it is amazing how many children come to us and they have not had a physical to start school, and they have to have a physical. Okay, so we try to make the access not only easy, but we try to make the access affordable by working with our partnerships. And so we're doing great things here in our county. Jobs for Virginia graduates. This is our third full year with the JVG program. And that program specializes in focusing on students and working with students. And this is just some of the bullets I'm gonna share. Students whose parents have been incarcerated or are currently incarcerated. Students who are in jeopardy of not graduating with their cohort. Students who have attendance barriers and challenges. Several of our McKinney-Vento students are in this program, and so it has helped them obtain job skills, workplace readiness skills, workforce development, and get a job when they graduate from Southampton High School because they're in that program. Goal 5, and then we're going to get into the numbers. Expanding opportunities to make schools more equitable for all. School climate, absolutely. And I'm sure that is going to be a point in the survey that Human Resources put out about the school culture and climate survey. Engaging families and communities as partners, talking with them and not at them, and involving them in the decision-making process, and having parents involved in so many of the partnerships that I just mentioned on the previous slide. The BTSS approach, I'm always talking about BTSS because that's the framework that's going to continue to help us build on the great things that we've already been doing in the division. So I just want to say that again, the great things that we've already been doing in the division, that is going to continue to be our groundwork and our framework to do that. We're going to use the data, continue to use the data to ensure that we are making sound decisions with the individuals who are in front of our students every day. Those are our classroom teachers. But before we do that, we got to know how to support them. So reviewing our performance data on a regular basis. Individualized instruction. We need personnel to make sure we hit those hot pockets when we know students. We just completed some benchmark testing. We're completing winter growth testing this week. We are using the data to ensure that we're making the decisions that is best for our students so they can continue to grow in the instructional plans that are afforded to them and built for them with an individual basis in mind, not building an individual plan with all students in mind. And that takes skill, that takes poise, that takes finesse, but that also takes personnel. Department of School Improvement and Accountability. It does what it says it does. It supports improvement in schools and accountability purposes as well. And so the budget focus for this department is to make sure that we have the functions of the Department of Accountability and School Improvement running well. And so some of those duties were reassigned during the transition because we received the data where we needed the support. So, and not just the middle school needs support, but also schools that are on track. We don't want them to level down. And so they are heavily involved in monitoring the indicators that must be addressed. Every school has a school improvement plan. That, and as a matter of fact, I was talking about that today here at the high school, that some things may need to be reviewed when you get your data back, okay? And so, we want to make sure that, and basically within this realm, just like many other departments, is personnel. They support the people in the buildings. They make sure that what's written in the plan is also happening in the buildings as well. We have a new curriculum in our school division, Hampton City curriculum. And throughout the year, we will have, our teachers will continue, and administrators, and central office staff will continue to have professional development to understand exactly how we will align our assessments that will be assessed from what was taught. So we're looking at the taught curriculum to the assessed curriculum. And so both have to be aligned and connected. And so throughout the school year, throughout the semester, we will continue to have professional development to ensure that there is an alignment. Also within this department, there's a lot of programs that has been established and approved and continue to be used that the data is showing one thing, that we want to continue to use it because it's being utilized. But also the other side to that is it aligned and are our teachers continuing to use it? So we're looking at data usage. Programs that we've had in the past may not be programs that they're going to request to purchase in the future because of data usage. And I don't want us purchasing items that our teachers are not using on a day-to-day basis or frequently, okay? And in this, on the slide, shows several programs and things that they're doing in curriculum and instruction. One of our areas of growth, though, we want to be transparent, but this is not so much on us, is that the State Department, in the middle of adopting new curriculum for math and science, also could not come together on what the history curriculum should look like. And so we are growing through those aches and pains right now. And our data, very frankly, showed that, because they are still discussing what the textbook adoption looks like. And so that's on a pause because of Executive 4 as well, or some of Executive 4 as well. Continue with our curriculum and instruction. This is just some data and some things that they have done. I shared with you all who our Division-wise spelling bee champion was at the middle school. They support dual enrollment courses. Out of this department is anything instructionally applied to materials and resources for summer school, for school year round, also instructional materials for new teachers. When you are moving to level up all of your schools and maintain your schools that are distinguished, a lot of things are going to happen out of this department because of the resources that they need. We are a very small county. We have 6 schools, of course. However, the needs are great because our students, a lot of our students are residing in high poverty areas. They're not coming with some of the things that they should have. Our regional governor school costs, I wanted to share that with you, so please look at the 3-year trend. That's going to increase. So we will have to budget for those increases. Because of the increases in our governor schools, they, of course, are passing the increases on us as well.
Can I give you a minute to catch your breath?
Yes, please.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll borrow the mic back. So I didn't want to lose this thought. As you were walking through some of the software purchases and some of that work, one of the things I think I'd really like to see when we get to our data presentations this year is how are the assessments of students that are gained from some of these software programs lining up with actual SOL results. So are we seeing performance in some of the educational software lining up with what we see in assessment data? And if not, how come? Or is there programs that are showing a better correlation than others? I think that'll help us refine our use of software programs to make sure that we're leveraging the most high value, best return on investment software. I think we've got a lot of options out there, and it's hard to master when we've got a lot of options. The utilization of that in the classroom and in curriculum. And so if we can use some of that data that we've been collecting to narrow those things down, I think it'll help our teachers be able to focus in on things that are most useful for them. And that might be different at the middle school, high school, and elementary levels. It might be different programming, but it could help us. So as we were walking through this, I didn't want to forget that one bullet.
Thank you so much for that.
Board members, anything else? I mean, Dr. Harris Muhammad has given us a whole lot already. I broke the silence for a second. Anything else that we wanted to chime in on while we have 2 seconds?
I think Dr. Muhammad
No, you're good. You gave me a moment to get some more water, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. I made that note, and Dr. Goodwin, thank you so much. I appreciate that, because that's important. So, here we go. The numbers. So, and to Board Member Goodwin's point, absolutely describing where we are currently, what we're doing currently, and where we need to be next year, and the cost of not only to maintain, but also to level up. And I use that phrase a lot because, and a lot of this information is going to be dependent upon what the governor shares with localities, right? And so we may have to come back and say, okay, we're basing this information off of, a lot of information off of what the previous governor has shared in his budget and our costs now. So as you can see, what it's costing us, and sometimes people don't know. So when you share the numbers and why the numbers are important and what positions are attached to those numbers or what programs are attached to your numbers, to your point, Mr. Chairman, ensuring that the alignment is always occurring, because we can't be afraid to say, well, the data does not support this program that we have, so we may not need that program anymore. And so the next few slides are going to talk to that. Our 692,000, little over that, covers, our reading specialist, 2.5 at Riverdale, so they're sharing. A lot of this funding that's out of Title I is supporting personnel, because we cannot fund those positions in our general fund alone. So we have to heavily rely on our grants and opportunities through federal funding and also state funding as well. When in some of these grants, many of these grants like Title I, they want you to ensure that you have data collected that is demonstrating partnerships with your parents. And so I believe our federal programs, Supervisor, Coordinator, Guru, Superstar, Ms. Bree Whitehead does that very well in ensuring that the money that we are receiving demonstrates the work that we're doing, not only in our schools with personnel, and this is the cost, okay? And costs are going to increase. I can't give you a definite number of how it's going to increase, probably until June, hopefully before the end of June, because the new fiscal year starts July 1st. However, this is what we are spending for personnel, and those personnel are in our schools. Under our quality of instruction, I shared earlier that position has not been filled, but we are working on that right now. Our dual language books, we have an increase, talking about dual language, and I get to this in a slide or two later, but those resources are critically important for our ESL students. We have an increase of our ESL population. And so if we have the students coming to us and we are not providing the resources or the support, that data is going to show in our accountability status, okay? And that is also showing we also have our Perkins grant, and so far out of that is professional development. So to a community member's point earlier, increasing the opportunities in the CTE program, as well as ensuring that students are aware how to become CTE credentialed, and also training the teachers that are teaching those CTE courses and equipment is coming out of our Perkins, okay? So in the department, also in federal programs, we also have our ECSE, our special education classes of our pre-K students. We have a lot of acronyms in education, so that's why I slowed down to say the acronym, so I didn't want to mess the letters up. A lot of materials that are purchased out of that is required, it's mandatory. So we can't get around that. And so those are the numbers there that we have spent this year that we will continue to spend in our next budget cycle to ensure, and we've been trying to be fiscally responsible, ensuring that we're getting what we need for our most vulnerable students to ensure that they are also successful. But our students with disabilities, special education, preschool, handicap, that cost right now is $14,668. So, to Dr. Goodwin's point, she didn't say it like this, but the impact of our investments in our school division, our budget focus, as I shared earlier, is to make sure that we are able to continue to provide stipends to our teachers that are working after school, on Saturdays, during the remediation programs, also our salary base. My goal is that we can support a 5% salary increase. Now, is that leveling where, and we're going to talk about this in a couple of slides, is that leveling, that still puts Southampton County Public Schools below the threshold. When we run the numbers, when we look at the numbers, we really need to be at, and don't fall like you see, like at a 12% salary increase, just to be where our neighboring school divisions are. And then as they increase their salaries, we're still below where they are. But I thought for my first budget proposal, asking for 12% was going to be too much. But that's, I mean, really, to be level, it really needs to be anywhere between 10 to 12%. Our Department of Facilities and Maintenance, we have seen, again, through this major winter storm that we just ended, our needs. We need boilers, I'm putting it out there. If a school was built with 2 boilers and one is down, I shared this before, we need to replace the boilers so they can function adequately. And the facilities and maintenance team, they have goals that I am working with Dr. Melby through and on to discuss what is immediate, and what is immediate. We have several things that are immediate. We all have the dream and goal of having 2 new schools. I don't think that should ever be off the table because we need 2 schools. And I believe that Capron should be off of 58. You know, do we have somewhere else for that school to go? We're going to talk about that later on as well. And so one of our largest contracts that I'm going to get to under facilities and maintenance is our HES contract right now. That's our custodial maintenance contract. So moving into technology, and we're going through the why. This is still the why and some metrics. Technology is just not devices. It is also our internet services. We have a goal, you all have had a goal for years for students to have the one-on-one initiative, so we continue to do that. The repair and placement of our technology devices is critical. We continue to have that need. And just the software to continue to do what we're doing now, broadcasting live, that takes a lot of funding out of that department to do. So our fiscal year runs from July 1st, as many of us know, but we can't make assumptions, through June the 30th of each year. The budget proposal in this presentation, I always say, I put the whole year together, but it's for our FY27. We'll run through July the 1st through this year, through the 30th next year, okay? Our school division has 3 budgets, so now we're getting into the meat of this, and thank you for your grace and patience. Operating budget, our capital improvement plan, it needs to be outlined. And I just shared some things that's in that capital improvement plan that you're gonna see in your budget booklets. And new construction, okay? There are 2 parts, and I apologize, but it did not shift when I uploaded, but somehow it shifted again. Our general school fund includes our Title I, II, III, IV, IDEA, Federal Meal Program. This is part of the budget, funds most of the operations of the school system. To operate a school day to day, Monday through Friday, it's a lot out of your operating budget. And then your non-general fund is formula driven, okay? And that includes your grants, local or federal. Okay, so how does Virginia pay for public education? Because this is always a question. So thank you for, allowing me the opportunity to go through this very quickly. Our ADM, average daily membership, how much is funded? This is used to calculate our teaching positions. If we don't have the students, they're not gonna fund the teaching position. If we want the positions, they will have to come out of our general fund, okay? The data lags and funding often reflects prior year enrollment. That's true every year. This is always a conversation with the Virginia Education Association on their lobby day. They don't wait until the lobby day to lobby that information. They begin 6 or 7 months in advance through their legislative legwork and groundwork to talk about how it is always not balanced. Our standards of quality, what must be funded. Our SOQs tell us what must be funded. Now, the state may not always give us the money to what must be funded, and then that comes out of our general fund. Positions that must have, according to the standards of quality, school divisions do not receive state matching funds for this. We talked about that during the budget committee, so it will come from our general budget. That's very important for the public to know. Our LCI, who pays what share of the local funds that we receive. Local divisions must fund their required share, to receive full state aid. This year, we will see an increase of the LCI, okay? And I have a little note for you at the bottom.
I'm gonna just jump in real quick there.
Sure.
Just to clarify that while it's our division's responsibility to put together the needs-based budget and all of the items that you are outlining for us here today, it's local taxpayer dollars governed by our board of supervisors that actually make up the rest of that match. And so we're reliant on our collaboration with our board of supervisors and our collaboration with the public to understand what's the needs are in our budget and how we're going to make sure that we fill that in. So I just want to make sure that when we say local division, we're really talking about our local community as a whole and how the taxpayer dollars are jumping in from the local level to support the state and federal dollars we're also talking about.
Yes, sir, thank you. That is correct. That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. And if it doesn't match, absolutely, we lose state funding, and that's important. And positions, we lose state funding, we lose positions, and Ms. Carr, keep me honest, but our LCI now is 0.34, it's coming up. It's coming up.
Mr. Smith did say he was going to contribute to that local contribution.
He did?
Yeah, he said he was going to.
Well, we have, Ms. Carr said she can take money, and he said, you want to make a contribution? So, last is, section 3 is more heavier, than the first 2 sections because the funding that we receive, so there are 3 pots, if I wasn't clear. It's our local, from our board of supervisors, our state, which is often guaranteed through certain grants and programs, and our federal monies, okay? Most of our funding on the state and federal level is already, when I say coded, is already clearly defined what it must be used for. We don't have an option, okay? And so our operating budget impacts and directly correlates to our student demographics. And some information here that I shared earlier, our ELL population has increased. So we really need 1 whole position that we have now and a half for our ELL students. We're gonna see that in a few slides. We must match.
It's also critical that you go back and talk a little bit about the local composite index. You mentioned local composite index, the LCI, but the local composite index is what the state has determined the locality can pay. And the locality is responsible for meeting the LCI, and I just think that you just need to elaborate a little bit on that. Thank you. Local composite index.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. So I'm gonna do that now, because that LCI listen, I'm just gonna be honest with everyone that's here and that's listening and watching. If the LCI, the local composite index, is not fully funded, local composite index, the needs that we have for our students is not going to be met. And so when that is identified, okay, then that means our local partner, our board of supervisors, your county supervisor, city council, however you want to describe that entity and partnership, that is at that rate they must fund. But let me be clear, funding at that rate can also mean that we're level funded. I just want to be clear. It's nothing extra. The high needs of our students has us coming out of the box of we have to go above that. The data shows it. The data shows it. Okay? The data is here. We have 115 students in our pre-K programs. If we eliminated BPI, we eliminate the ability of our students to be able to be ready for kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and through graduation. The importance of BPI is to ensure that our students are not just prepared to stack blocks, but socially, emotionally, and it draws in the parents as well. If we didn't have BPI funded here, then those students, 99 students, that's the data. Let me point this out. We have 99 students in 6 classes. We should have 99 students in 9 classes because they have needs. And so our 6 classes, with the funding that we have, is doing the work at a crowded rate. That goes to Dr. Goodwin's point about that LCI. This is important. So where did all this information come from about the LCI and the need of schools? From the JLARC study that was done in the 2023-2024 school year. I'm not going to read all that to you. You can read it at your leisure. But the JLARC study basically said that public education in Virginia is underfunded almost $4 billion. Yeah, $4 billion. The work is on us. Okay? I'm not going to read that to you. It's just some information I wanted to share about the state formula. It's not adequate for our students with additional needs. That goes back to this slide, right here. This right here goes with that right there. Okay? All right. This is why we need additional funding. Students with disabilities, if you look at the numbers, this is why I have a focus of ensuring that those positions of special ed are filled so they can have a balance. Okay? One of the things that came out of this discussion, and I'm not sure if Dr. Tiller, you want to chime in, or Ms. Lane, was our partnership with CSEP. We're looking at, Dr. Tiller's working with me and looking at CSEP, when they operate in our facilities, they pay us. Because right now they're not. So we're gonna look at how that came out of the budget committee. That was a valid question. And so we're gonna continue to work on that as well. But these are our numbers in special education, which when the community says, okay, so how are we supporting our students with special needs and extra needs, we are making it do with the staff that we have. And funding will help us ensure that the special education classrooms are more balanced. Okay? These are, I wanted to share the categories with you. I'm not going to go over each category. Yes, sure,
Can you go back a slide?
absolutely.
That 35 right there at Nottaway, with only one special education teacher, I know we're out of compliance. In that caseload is,
Yes, ma'am. We're working on it. Yes, ma'am. Understood.
that one special education teacher is probably exhausted by the end of the day.
That's what we're working on it. Yes, ma'am. Interviewing for those positions, or that position to back. When I mentioned earlier about balancing out, that was one of the reasons. Absolutely. And so that the LCI is, I call it a base of what must happen, because level funding is not helping us make sure that that is where it needs to be. Okay. Our transportation budget. You know, we are always hiring for transportation drivers, but we have transportation for our non-SPED students and transportation for some of our students with disabilities that is written in their individual education plan or 504. And that is the next slide, transportation for our special education students. Our funds support that as well. And so, you know, the importance of us ensuring that our students are met with full access is very important to this team. And so we are working to make sure that we balance, we're always balancing the information out. I also wanted to share our food nutritional services program, the number of students enrolled and the number of identified students. We are, I just lost it. Give me a second. For funding, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Funding for food services, our USDA community eligibility program. This program allowed us to feed our students during the remote learning during the snow days. I wanted to share that because that is important. Our budget, as we continue to work through our budget process and our budget review, and I receive feedback from you, my goal is to always provide a budget with purpose, clarity, and the passion for the work that we do, okay? All right, so there's the state code, and I highlighted the estimate of the amount of money deemed to be needed during the fiscal year for the support of public schools that's under that code, right? And so it's very important that, and I'm always gonna go back to the LCI, that is just to level us. It's not to meet all of the extra needs. It's to do this right here. It's to do this. We ain't gonna have it. It's to do this right here. That's what it does. And so I don't want people to think that the LCI gives us more. It does not. It does that for us. Okay? So no new initiatives. If we do, because that's always your goal, that's always your hard work, we have to fund it. We gotta go through those partnerships. And thank you to Ms. Green Whitehead, because she's gonna find it if it's out there, to make sure that we can fund. But this is where our money is going. Staffing, incentives, our benefits. And let me stop and say this. It's hot off the press. I just got this out of a Region 2 superintendent's meeting today. They think it's going to pass. However, the General Assembly just passed in both houses, okay, that FMLA, and I want to make sure I have the wording right, that they are looking at how FMLA is written in local school divisions, and they're looking at a 90-day mandatory FMLA, if anyone asks. It hasn't gone to the governor's desk yet. But if we have to fund FMLA 90%, are you with me, Dr. Tindall? You probably heard it because you're HR.
information that I can
Ooh-wee.
add to that if, do you mind?
That is going to be a concern. It was told to us today in the Region 2 meeting that the governor most likely will sign off on that. Dr. Tinder, I pass the mic to you. Mic check 1, 2.
Thank you. So yes, it has passed both houses and it will most likely be signed if it goes to the governor's desk. It changes the state laws versus the federal because, so right now the federal FMLA, you have to have worked full-time for whatever the company is, including a school division, for 12 months. This new bill gets rid of that 12 months, which means everyone would be eligible for this state family medical leave. It also expands the definition of family. The federal leave right now, I believe, is parents, children, and spouse. This new one expands it to include grandchildren, siblings, all kinds of other
Foster
stuff.
children.
Yes. But what they're talking about is that it wouldn't go into effect until January of 2029, and it's going to be run through the Virginia Employment Commission. And so there's going to be a tax, for lack of a better word, but it would be a contribution similar to VRS and Virginia Employment, where the employer will pay in out of, for an employee, and the employee will see some of that cost as well, just like we see a percentage for some of the other things. It is up to 12 weeks. It's 80%, up to 80% of their salary. So the potential tax that, liability for employers and employees will either start in January 1st of 27 or January 1st of 28, depending on the final version of the bill. So it is possible that we're looking at in this budget year, needing money to pay into that. On the plus side, the VRS contribution has gone down, but yeah.
And so more information to come on that as they begin to give us clear guidance and information on how, but everyone, every superintendent in Region 2 shared their sentiments today on the call, on the Zoom meeting, because that's going to financially impact school divisions, not just large school divisions, but all school divisions. Also, I wanted to point out, and as many of us know, I just want to point out for those who are watching and listening, in K through 3, there is a mandated class size that you cannot go over. If you go over that class size, we can, and most likely will be penalized for that. But we also have to provide additional personnel for that. And so, of course, the state has been lenient over the years because they know we've gone since 2020 a major teacher shortage, and even before 2020. This slide just shares with you all and those who are interested in the state budget process. I am not going to read this word by word. I am not, but this is at your leisure. Sometimes people think about the processes, and the budget process is not quite like some other states' budget process. We're very different in Virginia. A lot of things go through committees several times, and the off-season of the General Assembly is really the time where we can begin advocating for our categories and what goes in those categories and what has to come out of those categories. And so my hope is that we form some form of a legislative committee to begin advocating, just like you all do, advocating on the state level to the state about our funding for rural school divisions like this. Individuals wanted to know, what are our categories? Where do our monies come out of? These are the codes that we don't make up, that they're guided by Virginia Department of Education. And so I'm gonna go through these codes, you can see what comes out of those codes. And so when you're looking at our financial reports, then you can see, oh, okay, instruction, 61,000, that's instruction, something came out of instruction. Operations, 64,000, operations and maintenance. So this is what, I wanna go back, okay. So our budget, if you're looking at our instruction, and so the perspective was important for us to get here right now. What we are proposing, what we're looking at, what our needs are. And our FY26 budget, when you look at these categories and the needs and the increases of what we are asking, what I am proposing that you all as a governance team support, it is because of the increases and everything that you all don't have control over. And so it goes back to, if we are level funded, then more of the cost is gonna come back on us, okay? And so if we want to maintain and increase our accreditation statuses, then we're going to have to increase the funding in many of these categories as well. The cost of technology has gone up, just with the internet service, just with, the repair. We don't understand why kids leave with a brand new iPad or a Chromebook and comes to us with a hole in it. We're just quite not sure what happens. But we have to replace it. Okay, we do have insurance on many things, which is also a cost. One of the things that I am deeply concerned about, I shared this with Chairman Rogers during our winter storm at Nottoway, that we are going to have to, my recommendation is that we go ahead and replace some things that need to be replaced, like boilers. Because it is very amazing to me that Nottoway had a very similar leak, if not congruent, in the same spot that Meharry did a couple of years ago. And so we have done a great job at repairing, but we are really going to have to address that need.
Pause for just a second. I just want to take a point. And I know Ms. Lane and Dr. Timbo, you guys are probably thinking about this with budget process, but our newest schools are 25 years old. The average life of an HVAC unit in any of our houses is 15-ish years, if you're lucky. So we've got boilers and chillers and all these kinds of things that are 25 years old. And while these, Nottoway and Meharry and Riverdale, they all feel really new to me because in relation to 70-plus-year-old schools, they are relatively new. I think that there's probably some things that we've been forced to neglect over several years because we've been at a level funding and because we haven't had some increases and been able to really look in detail at what it's going to cost to keep these facilities up to date, that we just haven't been able to address. And so part of, to be honest with you, Dr. Harris Muhammad, I'm sure that $872,000 difference in maintenance and operation from last year to this year is probably not going to cover or even touch some of those infrastructure needs we have. And so I know we're going to get to capital improvement plan and maintenance and all those kinds of things, but we really are going to need to prioritize during this budget cycle what are those items that are hanging out there so that we can get to a concrete plan on this is what it's going to take to keep our facilities functioning. So that we don't run into issues like we ran into at Nottoway this year, like we ran into Riverdale this year, and like we've run into at some of the other places in the past, and have to put temporary fixes in place to keep things up and operational. So I think we do a great job of trying to keep our kids and our teachers and all of that in safe and healthy environments, but it's an aging infrastructure, and aging infrastructure costs more than up-to-date infrastructure, and if we invest a few dollars now, it sometimes saves a few dollars down the road as well. We need to make sure that we're paying attention to that. So, enough preaching, sorry.
That's okay, thank you. Just want to pause here, see a lot of pondering, have anything you want to share? Just want to make sure that I'm working from both sides of the room. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The state budget update, this just shares with you that, you know, our reallocation of the local deposit index, it went from 0.2987 to 0.3214. That's good, it increased. The need of the increase is there. However, I just cannot stress enough that even with that increase in our LCI, the needs of the school division are greater than it may appear, but the data shows it that our affordability of meeting the needs of all students based off of your goals, level funding is not going to be the way for our next fiscal year. We're gonna need some additional support. Lottery funds, okay. Ms. Carr, again, keep me honest, but our lottery funds, one of the questions that I received over the past couple of weeks was, what about our lottery funds? Our lottery funding, yes, there is a fund for our lottery in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But our lottery fund, it's not a fund that goes to a particular place and then divided by 132 school divisions. It doesn't operate like that. I just want to make sure I'm clear. Sometimes I wish it did, but it doesn't, okay? The lottery fund is a placemat, that's how I identify it, to cover and fill another area of funding on the state level when they give us money from somewhere else. So it all balances out. Doesn't give us extra. It doesn't take less. But it doesn't give us this imaginary number, imaginary amount of money that people think it may provide to us. And I'm gonna ask Ms. Carr very quickly, because the way that I explain it sometimes is not always the best way. Ms. Carr, how honest was I?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, I will be, in the past, like I can remember, many years.
Come up this way, Ms. Carr, to the mic.
She was gonna escape that.
She did.
You tried really hard.
Is this on? Okay. Yeah, so, the lottery funding, of course, you can see here that it does fund several of our programs and all, but it also, I can remember, like I said, years ago, when the, state would receive additional lottery funds, and we would actually get that additional money. On a line says additional lottery. Okay, so now, you know, people think that when the lottery funds increase, that we see that increase. But in reality, they just shift the funds around. So that's just less money maybe coming from the general fund of the state. And more programs would be shifted down to the lottery funds. So, but I mean, yes, the lottery does support the school system. So, you know, we would be in dire straits if we didn't have that funding. But it's not like, you know, when you hear lottery funds have increased, that it's that increase, all that increase is going down to the school system.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Our outgoing governor introduced budget for the FY27 included a contribution, updates to the employer contribution to the VRS. The instructional retirement rate has decreased from 15.23 to 13.37. Funding for the state share of a 2% salary increase for state-funded SOQs, that's very important. what I went back earlier, that's why I shared that, slide earlier. It's not for all staff, for the SOQs, instructional and support positions, effective July 1st, 2026. However, I just want to take this moment to point out, even with that 2% salary increase, that we have to ensure that we are meeting, that still puts us, governance team, below our neighboring school divisions.
Add something, oh, go ahead, Dr.
No, I was just, you might want to emphasize that not all positions SOQ funded, but it's out there in the county when we talk about a raise, everybody gets a raise, whether you're in an SOQ funded position or not. So, you know, I think
That is important.
that drives up the numbers in the budget.
It does drive up the numbers in the budget because you've taken a position, an equitable position that not just the SOQ positions that are needed, okay? Math teachers, paraprofessionals, but everybody, our certified and classified staff, our central office individuals are also fortunate to receive, because that's the position that this governance team has taken for many, many years. And so that does increase our share, and also increase, when you look at a pie chart that's gonna be in our budget booklet, that piece for the general fund, it widens out, because you're making sure that everyone is receiving that benefit.
Dr. Harris, Mom?
Yes, ma'am.
Add something too.
Sure.
So I think you have something coming up. The outgoing governor does have the 2%. The new governor has at least a 2%, potentially a 3%. Both of them have mandatory local matches. So at the very least, we are talking about having to match 2% salaries, potentially having to match 3% of a salary increase.
Yes, that is correct. And I think I shared in our last budget work session that it was floating a 5% with the new governor, but landed at what you just said, 2 to 3%. But regardless, we have to match it. Yep, and we have to budget for that. So Ms. Carr has done a great job, and her team has done a great job budgeting what our budget amount will look like for our average daily membership, and for our projected average daily membership, and what we are at currently, as of September the 30th now. That's just as of September the 30th. And when you look at the information that has been presented to you with the projected FY27 state projected ADM, average daily membership, along with other major technical adjustments that always occur in a school division. It's always gonna occur. Adjustments that you have to increase. The state revenue for our operating budget is gonna be over $1 million, $1,450,000. And so for the work that we do in our school division based off of last year, even a 3-year trend to preparing for next year, there was a difference of 69.45% between the two ADMs, the 2 years of ADMs. And that is on us. Mr. Rogers, I see your.
I was glad. Go ahead and finish the slide.
I did.
Okay. So I see the number of, we anticipate an increase in state revenue of 1.45 million. Is that inclusive of the projected increase raise for the SOQ positions, or is that only based off of the ADM projected increase?
If I am not mistaken, it's just based off of the ADM. Am I not correct, Ms. Carr?
That's actually, that's the ADM along with all the other technical adjustments and the 2% that the governor put in.
That's our best case
Scenario.
What we think we're.
That's everything that we can expect from the state at this point.
at this point, let's keep it.
Yeah.
But you have to
Yeah.
remember that they readjust that as well, and the nice thing is that our ADM has gone up this year, we can get more money. If
Have more money. Mhm.
it doesn't, then we don't get as much in the second half of the reimbursement.
Correct. And sometimes, governance team, you're planning, you're developing a proposed budget for the next calendar year, but you're really looking at two. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and, well, and, I mean, at ADM, it's gotten clearer to me over time how important this is. We look at our enrollment numbers, we get them every month in our board packets, those are always very helpful. We've had an increase in enrollment throughout this year, it's been a pretty steady trend throughout this year, so we're significantly higher enrollment than we were projected to be at. The other thing that's I think really important, and I wanted to make sure we mentioned here, is the work that we've done on attendance, and how important it is to have children here in school. They're not just enrolled, but they're also here in school, and looking at those attendance numbers that we see every month too, how much that impacts our ADM, which then does influence funding. So as we have invested in some of the attendance officer work, we've invested in making sure that we've got children supported to get here to school, that we're taking care of feeding them, all those things add up to how that helps us get state support for the work that we're doing here. So I think that's just a comment that I've understood that better with my time on the board. So
Thank you for that. Mr. Smith, yes, sir. Thank you.
What the state does, they take a snapshot, and they use March the 31st, snapshot. And then they look back on March the 31st.
Okay, again, this is a slide. I just want to continue to share that I strongly believe that if we want to continue to support, as a governance team, your goal of teacher retention, that presenting a 5% increase to our employees this is not the best case scenario. We're looking at all of the things that we have before us as a school division, even with our increase in our local composite index. We want to retain the staff that we have, that we're going to have to, it's almost every year, it's like every year we're going to have to add an increase anywhere from 5 to 10%, just to maintain, just to level out with other school divisions. Yes,
Support you. So I think that the board understands the need to be competitive. So I think that when we talk about that, you don't have to convince us.
Yes, ma'am.
We're convinced.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm gonna do my very best with some coaching from all of you sitting at the dais to convince our board of supervisors, because that's important. You all do support that 100%. I want to make that very clear. When you do provide these increases to our staff, and you know this, you all can speak to it. You're thinking about pulling from something else. But you know the importance, and I will share this publicly right now, the importance of taking care of your people. You demonstrate that. And so it is going to be up to us. I will be the voice, and I know you all are the voices as well behind the scenes, and I appreciate that. But we're going to have to, and I will, of course, in partnership, stressing the need of not just being level funded. We cannot continue to do what we're doing with a level funded budget.
Now, I think the one thing that the board did last year was that, in addition to the raise, we increased the beginning teacher salary. So, so that might be one thing that you can look at, in terms of just increasing the beginning teacher salary and, not including that 5% raise, but everybody gets 5%, but maybe
We did, that's coming up. I put the health insurance slide before that because our health insurance cost, is increasing. So we included an additional $139,007 in the health insurance estimated budget, which equates to about a 10% increase based on our premiums, okay? And here we go, Dr. Goodwin, here we go, governance team. We did increase our salary, teacher, annual salary. But when you look at our salary compared to Alawite, Suffolk, Franklin, and Greensville, we need about a 10 to 12% jump. And so I'm working towards, it's honest, as to the point of Dr. Goodwin and several others that have made over time. All of you up there, I've heard it, either sitting over there or over here, that to retain, you're meeting the mark. You're stepping out and saying, we're gonna increase our base salary, but it's still low because you are thinking about other things as well.
Well, and Alawite just did a salary study, so theirs is probably gonna go up even higher because their salary study said they're not hitting the mark.
And it has been suggested that we do a salary study. That is a great idea because you all have been saying it as long as I've been here, that we are the lowest paid in our immediate region, and we are. And so a study will be your additional voice to say, well, this is what we've been saying. And I mean, we have the data in-house, but the study is showing you that we are the lowest paid in our region. And not just in our immediate region. Portsmouth, Brunswick, I was gonna say Prince George, Sussex, Surrey, and so.
And I think it's important to remember too, that yes, I mean, I'm absolutely not disagreeing, we do need to raise them, but it's not as simple as just raising the beginning teacher salary because of the way our steps are set up. Because if you say, okay, well, you know, we're gonna make our beginning teacher salary, whatever, 51. You just jumped probably steps 2 through 4, and now your beginning teacher next year makes more than a teacher that's been here for 3 years, if you don't adjust all the other steps too. And so it's right, you have to adjust all of the steps. And so, you know, like when we say you're looking at a 10% or a 12% to get the beginning salary, that means you're talking about a 10% of everyone's salary. So we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, you know, again, going back to just the whole funding thing, I think the board agrees with you, but I think that we have to take into consideration the funding stream, not just for the school board, but for the county. I mean, so when we talk about, you know, the surrounding areas, we also have to talk about the funding streams for those localities. So, you know, it's good to talk about a 10% rate, but can Southampton County, not just the school district, but can Southampton County afford to give a 10% rate? So, you know, it's great to talk about it, we love to do it. I think the salary study is great, but I think that will have to be mediated in terms of just the county budget and the income streams for the county.
And I think to your point too, you know, we can't just say, you know, we can do what we can do that helps the county and brings in industry and brings in money, and then, you know, those funding streams draw people, and, you know, we're able to do that. But and I know that we've kind of talked about this before, and it doesn't necessarily, it speaks to the budget and being able to attract teachers, but there are other ways that are not as monetary, you know, to incentivize staff. And, you know, that we've looked at a couple of what are some of the other things that people think are important in addition to how much money you're making. So.
And I think, if I remember last year, we had like a well
Right.
It's one of those incentives.
Exactly, yeah. And
It's
the,
monetary.
right, the more things like that and, you know, outside the box kind of thing, what else can we, while we're working on this, you know, knowing that, yes, we agree and we're trying to do what we can to increase them, thinking outside the box about, you know, what else is important and what else can we give to the teachers that's, right, exactly, things like the bi-weekly thing. So I think it's important to note that there are other things that we're trying to do on this side while we're also vehemently trying to raise salaries.
Thank you all so much for your feedback, but that is correct. The twice a month salary schedule, which that survey is going out. Staff, you receive it at 8 a.m. in your inboxes, so check your email and it was just a sidebar because I heard Ms. Lane say that. And then to the point of providing wellness days last year, absolutely, that's an incentive for our staff. But on personnel needs, I think it's a perfect opportunity to say this right here. That's not in this slide. For, I'm gonna say maybe 20, 25 years or so, we've had a board member who has been faithful on leading the charge and expressing the need of expanding some of the opportunities in our school division. And so we have the opportunity, after years of work, this is not one person's work, this was a person's vision and heart, that we now not only have one military science program wanting to come to Southampton County Public Schools, but two. We have the JROTC Air Force and the Army, who called us yesterday and said, we would like to develop a program in your school division. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for that hard work and that dedication. I made a commitment to you last year when it was mentioned to me this is something that was on your heart. I said, duly noted. And I am so honored to say this evening, it's not on here, but that is gonna happen for us. And I'm glad that you will be sitting here to see that happen next school year. So thank you, sir, for that. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So
Is that cost reflected in the budget?
it's coming out of CTE. Now, look, that's a great question because that's a valid question. Is cost reflected in the budget? And so Air Force one of them definitely will come out of Perkins, okay? When I do have a conversation with the Army officials, and I'm just gonna ask this, well, you know, like I told Mr. Smith, they know that Air Force wants to come too. Who's gonna give us the better bang for our buck? Because I don't want students, my dream is not for them not to pay for a piece of a uniform, a pair of shoes, anything that goes with the program. And the benefit of it, absolutely, is gonna help our students. Because you have 3 ranges. I don't wanna say ranges, but you have 3 groups. You have your athletics, you have your athletic group, you have your academic group that does well no matter what. But then oftentimes we have students that say, what's for me? What's for me? And so I'm excited that we're going to have one of those programs for us in the high school that is really going to, I believe, put us on the map for students to come to our school. Yes,
Just
sir.
like to add that I think that many other attributes come out of that whole program. School discipline, and, you know, every time we have invocation, we have Boy Scouts from Franklin, it'll be nice to have a core of our own students presenting the colors, our invocation.
And when you mentioned what's for me, I've had, past 5 or 6 kids through the ROTC program, and
Thank you for sharing. That is true. We're meeting the needs. That goes back to your goal, meeting the needs with equity for all students in the school division. And I just believe, school board members, you are meeting that mark. You are walking in what you said your goals are. And so our personnel needs, to go to personnel, as you can see, sometimes we forget the cost of those personnel needs with the health and benefits. Ms. Carr loves the word fringes. It's the same thing. So don't just look at the base salary, but you have to look at the overall salary, right? And so we have some urgent needs at our school. For example, Riverdale needs a dean of students. The high school needs a dean of students. I strongly believe the testing coordinator should be a separate position from a shared position. If we want to go to, I asked Ms. Carr to add this in, the payroll specialist. We want to go to twice a month pay. The payroll department would need support with that. So when people want to know what we're funding, when they ask you, well, what is your money buying? What is your money doing? This is some of what we are doing. And then you can multiply that by how many SPED teachers we have, how many math teachers we have, how many assistant principals, and not all of it, and let me share this, goes to the point that was made earlier. Our SOQs, do not fund the multiple building administrators in a building. We cover that cost because of our student population. I keep hitting this and it's, sorry. All right, our special education instructional needs are there for you. They also have an increase. CSEP has an increase in their 27 budget based on the vacancies and the needs of the students with their disabilities. We are also looking at, is it going to be cheaper for us to continue to contract services for OT, PT, speech and psychologists, or bring those things in-house? Now, to share this from what I understand is that the contractual services are easier to find than trying to hire someone for those services. Again, those are our budgeted operation needs, our budgeted increase. Dr. Melby and I are having a conversation with HES to talk about their increased needs. If you see purchase services at $544,528, and so basically I'm going to share this publicly. I want to know what you're going to do for that increase, right? And so that conversation is happening tomorrow, right, Dr. Melby? Yep, it's happening tomorrow. So next Wednesday, when we come back together, I can have a response for you. Yep. Our continued operational needs with the dollar amount, and I wanted a justification. Why are we requesting the increase, and what is it applicable to? That's important for you to know. When I am going to be in front of the Board of Supervisors asking for these increases, asking for us not to be level funded, and the why, the metrics, the why, and the evidence will be presented to them as I'm sharing with you. And thank you so much. Dr. Goodwin has said it eloquently several times. We believe you. We know what we need and what we're doing. So, and I appreciate that. But this is important. When, to Mr. Chairman's point, when we're looking at our facilities and maintenance needs and our capital improvement plan, we know we're not going to be able to fund everything that is going to be shown to you. We're not. We don't have the money to do that. So we're going to be discussing what would you like for us to do. And that data, you're going to be led by the data and the information that I will be presenting to you. So our budget recap, I've given you a lot of information, the historical perspective, the purpose, the clarity in it, and our passion, all takes us to what our approved local operating budget is currently, the draft for our FY '27 local operating budget, and the increase, $5,962,794. And we even gave you what that percentage of an increase is, based off of what we just walked through together. And that's what we need. School board members, thank you for the opportunity to recap the revenue with you, what our needs are. Percent increase of our local support is on the next slide. And I jump right to it. We're gonna need almost a 40% increase from our board of supervisors. So that is not level funded. That is beyond, but that's what we are going to need. I highlighted non-resident tuition revenue at $60,000 because one of the team leaders mentioned, had an idea of, looking at increasing our student population if we stop requesting tuition from our out-of-district students. Would that increase our student population? I don't know, because we don't have any data to suggest that, but that's why it's highlighted for something for you to think about as a board. Okay. Our current local revenues, $11,644,980. Even at our current local revenue as it is, and that's from our locality, our partner, we still have a almost 40% budget increase based on the information that I have presented to you this evening. We talked about what we need in these areas, and then our budget pressures that we're facing now. Mr. Chairman stated earlier, our HVAC, our boilers, to expand instructional and learning opportunities for students. We cannot continue to be level funded. If we want to continue to, provide the support and resources in priority 3, our academics, we are gonna have to move with the high cost of supporting our students with disabilities. That's real, that's a fact. The data shows it, okay? And this slide just goes over the revision of our budget dates and our presentations, and I know on the 25th, we'll come back together again. I'll have feedback from you all between now and then, and also we'll take questions from, not questions from the public, but comment and feedback from the public. And as we go through this budget process together as a team, it gets stronger and stronger every time. And so I'm available, phone call or Zoom, if you have some ideas that you would like to share. I'm here, and all of this work that we do together continues to amplify, signify, and justify that we are better together. So I just thank you for the opportunity to present my proposed budget for the FY '27 school year. Thank you.
Here's one.
Sorry, yes, ma'am.
On the HR part of things, when we were looking at salaries and that kind of stuff, did we also look at the increase for minimum wage? Does that affect any of our current employees, or are we already above that? The threshold goes up in January to $13.75 an hour.
Ms. Carr,
Do you know if we have anybody that will have to make whole?
Yeah, there may be, with the 5%, some of them that are currently at 13, everybody's at 13. So, there'll be a small adjustment for those that are at 13 if we get 5% in.
Okay.
But it's not gonna be something that's really gonna, impact the budget that much.
Okay, I thought most of our people were close to that anyway, so. And then, have we heard anything from our workers' comp insurance about
We're in our renewal phase right now.
Okay.
So we've submitted some information.
I'm sorry, can you come up to the microphone so the public that are watching can hear as well? Thank you.
Sorry. Let's see how many other people we get. Who else have a question?
No, but we are in our renewal process right now with Versa, our insurance company, and so we're submitting all of our data right now for our salaries that we're projecting for next year. And so they'll send that back on the workman's comp piece. So,
Okay, all right. Yeah, because
you know, they base that on salary versus what we've had for claims in the past, and then they work that number.
yeah, we had our regional HR meeting last week, and a lot of people were saying just kind of that it didn't really matter which company you went with, but there were some pretty significant increases.
It's gonna go up.
And, yeah.
So that's anticipated, and that was part of the insurance increase that was listed in there,
Okay.
that I gave. So, yeah, so it's anticipated.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Harrison, HBS, are we gonna look more into them more? We'll turn around, I'm sorry. Are we gonna look into their efficiency
Yes.
more?
Yes is the basic answer, as Dr. Harrison Palmer just said. We'd like to know a little bit more of what you're looking for, as far as that goes, to have that
Money that
conversation.
we are paying them, it's not reflective of the work that they're doing, in my eyes, I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize, because that's one of the conversations, board members, that I'm having tomorrow. I'm just being honest. I've shared with board members, during one-on-ones, when the question has come up about, the contract, the services not matching, the funding that we're providing. And that's an honest and courageous conversation. And so we don't have the conversation, to identify what we have concerns related to, then my thought process is that the way that it is going is going to continue to go that way. And I do not want that to continue. So tomorrow I will have an honest conversation. Dr. Melby will be present, and I have some additional information for you in the next couple of days. Does that sound okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I think when we think about HES, I think we need to think about the fact that we've really got two different services we're contracting for. So we're contracting custodial services and we're contracting maintenance services. And I've heard different feedback for each of those two services when I've heard from employees. And I know you're well aware of that, Dr. Melby and Dr. Harris Mohammed. But I think some of what I think is helpful is to make sure that we understand the value of what we're getting from both of those services, and is that meeting what our expectations are based off the contract that we executed with HES. It's a little bit also like homeowners insurance and car insurance, right? Like when you bundle, you want to save a little bit, right? And so because we've bundled, we want to make sure we're getting a good bang for our buck out of both, but we also want to understand the productivity for both sides of the house and that it's meeting our needs. So you guys know that far better than I do. I just want to make sure we're clear.
Dr. Harrison, I have one more thing to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Your presentation, with the help of Dr. Tindall and Mr. Smith and myself, we put everything in that we need for the operation of Southampton County Public Schools to operate adequately. But if we don't get if we don't get the money that we need, the question is, are we gonna be out of compliance? I know, but I want to make sure, coming from her.
So if we do not get the money that we need, the question is, will we be out of compliance? And I would say, without having some additional evidence, that we will be concerned, that we are going to have to cut and move some things around. And so I can have a better answer for you in speaking with the team leads on what would happen if we don't get this. I would tell you, SPED will be, as hard as they work to improve, some categories, and they've done a great job. My fear, and this is honest talking, that we may lose every game that they made over the past 4 years because of personnel and, additional services, that only our operating budget can withstand.
So that was my second question, what's the ramifications of us not being in compliance, losing it?
Our school division could possibly be on several plans that departments that are impacted not meeting the needs if we're not keeping, with the upkeep.
Okay, with all of that said and done, I make a charge for everyone in this county. 6 o'clock, Tuesday afternoon, I think it's the 22nd, I'm sorry, the 24th, please go to those board of supervisors meeting and voice your opinions about our school system and what we need to get it to do what we need to do.
Thank you for those questions.
I do think, I'm going back to putting the ROTC in the budget. I think it serves two purposes. I think you want to show that we're gonna have an ROTC program, and it also accounts for a cost of bringing the program. I think it works both ways. I'm proud the program is coming. I think we need to broadcast the program is coming, but it's not free. So even if you put in a minimal amount, I would like to see it somehow reflected.
Yes, ma'am.
In the budget.
Absolutely. Uniforms, shoes, but material, all of those things, absolutely.
Right, well,
Yep.
yeah, because I think, and I don't know, but I thought there was ROTC, there's some, like the district has to pay part of the person's salary plus some fringe benefits. I mean, so I just think some of it needs to be reflected in the budget so we can, it's one of pride, but we need, it needs to be visible.
Yes, ma'am,
Can-
absolutely.
Can I ask a question about that? So I know that there's an application process anytime you're going to add a CTE course. Have we completed that process?
We'd already submitted the application process.
Okay.
That the school division, excuse me for, I just want to see.
No, I know.
But, the school division had gone through that process about several years ago, then we went through it again in 2024.
Okay.
So we just have to go through the process of renewing.
Okay.
We would get the code, we will get the necessary, like I said, SKU code and all of the things
Right.
that we have.
That was what I wanted to make sure, because I know that process, the entire process takes about a year from when you start it until you can have the class, and so, awesome, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Great question.
In addition, I would like to thank Mrs. Hall and Mr. Collins for their suggestions, but again, piggybacking on Dr. Goodman, the money's not gonna fall down from the sky. You're gonna have to ask the board of supervisors for these funds.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to thank those who spoke this evening as well. Thank you so very much for that feedback. So board members, I have my charges.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, yes, sir, okay.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Dr. Tyndall, Mr. Smith, Ms. Lane, extra work put in and extra thought and all that, so I appreciate that time. I want to thank you, Dr. Harris Muhammad, for coming in on short notice and putting together a budget and getting all this stuff together. I know that you were on a short timeline with a steep learning curve for yourself, so thank you for that, and thank you to all the folks that are sitting over in the corner that I'm sure have contributed to that, even though we made a few of you walk up to the microphone. I know all of you probably had some input into that, so I'm always thankful for the staff that do support us. I wanted to make a couple of notes that I think are important that we've talked about in years past, but are also important. One, when you list all those operational needs that are going up, those are costs that just to keep the doors open to our facilities are costs that we have to absorb. Like when we talk about needs-based budget, you can't open the door if you don't pay for the heat, and you can't open the door if you don't pay for water and all those. So those costs go up every year, just like they've gone up for all of our households. That's no different for the schools. Those are anticipated costs. When I look at the costs, the positions that you laid out, I think what concerns me the most is half of these are the same positions we thought needed to be included last year. They were special education positions that we knew we needed last year that we still need next year because we could not afford to add those positions to our budget previously. So while there's a couple of new positions here that I think I want to talk more about around Dean of Students and how that plays in with the other administration in the schools and all that, and are those must-haves versus nice-to-haves, some of that, we'll walk through those things, I think, as a board. There are some of these positions that were the same positions we asked for last year. And then maybe my charge back to you, or my question back to you and the budget committee is, are we able to reflect where we were able to trim any cost savings? I think it's important, even if they weren't large chunks, but if there's anything that we had a cost savings on, pointing that out as a reduction is important. So you noted the VRS reduction for our percentage. That's going to save us a couple of dollars. That should be noted as something that's saved. If we've had positions that have went unfilled for years, perhaps that's a place we can look to say, we've cut this position in order to, because we haven't been able to fill it, in order to support these positions, then maybe it reduces our cost a little bit more. I'm not sure that we can get much lower than where we're at, because this is about what we've asked for 2 years. This will be the 3rd year that it'll be about the same number that I've been on the board for sure. So I just think it's nice to be able to show anywhere that we can show that we've been good fiscal stewards to reflect that what we're really asking for is what's needed. And so I appreciate some of the transparency you've got here. I look forward to the board book or the budget book that will give us probably some more of the details around some of the specific line items. But it's good work. It's just it's daunting to have to ask anybody for a 40% raise in a year. And I know that's a lot of factors that have played into that. We've asked for some of those increases in previous years. And last comment, and I will probably be quiet. I feel like we need a supplement that's attached to this budget that has a projection related to the facilities things that we've discussed, because that's not included in this budget. There's no extra money in here for schools. There's no extra money in here for maybe a little bit for boilers or things like that will be reflected. But I know that Dr. Melby had started to put together some of our capital and maintenance improvement list. I think that needs to be an attachment to the budget, because I think that needs to be reflected on aging infrastructure and upcoming needs that clearly demonstrates we know what's necessary here, and we're communicating it and sharing it, and this is how the county is going to have to help us with some of that. It'll also help us with grant planning. And where can we go find some of those dollars that might require some match, but at least we know what we're targeting for those grants, applications, and those kinds of things. So anyways, I think those would all be really helpful things as we communicate the budget going forward, and as we seek to kind of get us on the right path.
Yes, sir. Thank you for those. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Anything else from any other board members before we wrap up on the budget presentation?
I just got a couple things to say. Good presentation. I took me to school on this. I'm pretty sure every board member here backs the budget. I wish it could be more. Previous years before I was here, I noticed and heard how the board of supervisors was putting pressure on the school board for change. We have made those changes, we've demonstrated those changes, we have moved forward. Pass is passed. This is directed towards the people watching and the people here. It's up to the board of supervisors to help fix the school system, and the pressure needs to be back on them. Without their help, it's just not going to happen. And that's it.
Thanks, Mr. Grizzard. Anything else? So next Wednesday, we have to discuss the qualifications for the next superintendent. So we have to establish and formalize that. That'll be part of our work session. And Dr. Harris Muhammad has committed to getting us a budget book. It's going to print by Friday, so that we'll have that available to review next Tuesday as well, or next Wednesday, I'm sorry, as well. No.
Has to be open session.
Yeah, that was one that had to be open session for discussion on qualifications, because it's not a specific personnel matter. I do have one other order of business. The VSBA had asked us to meet on, I think it was April 1st, and they're not able to meet that commitment, and so they've asked us for an alternative date for the second meeting which will be to review applicants and those kinds of things, on March the 30th at 1 p.m. Does that work for everybody's schedule so that I can confirm back? They can't go any later in the day than 1 p.m. based off of their schedules.
That's the interviews.
That will be to review the candidates that we've received ahead of scheduling interviews. 1 p.m. I think when we met with them before, they said that's usually about a 2-hour meeting. They said 3 for that one? Okay. That's why we wanted, yeah, okay. Okay. I trust Dr. Goodwin's memory.
Well, I just from they said it's gonna take longer than the previous other ones too. So
Okay.
that's how I came.
So I hear 3:30, or March 30th at 1 p.m. works for all the board members. All right, I will confirm with the SBA so that we can get that taken care of. And then Dr. Harris Muhammad also was kind enough to kind of put our budget calendar back up there. So to Ms. Hall's question, the next public hearing on the budget will be March 2nd, and then we will approve our budget to be presented to the county on March 9th. So any other business that requires the attention of the board? If not, I would be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, I heard Ms. Lane. Okay, Dr. Tyndall with the first, Ms. Lane with the second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Have a great night, board members. I understand there's some dinner.
Dinner in the media center for you. Grab and go. Thank you all.
Thank you to everybody that's attending.